All right, so DeepSeek, right? This is the big AI story everybody's talking about, and so we pulled together like all this stuff, the news articles, all the analyst stuff, even some really in-depth technical reports.
That's a lot, yeah.
Yeah,
The goal today, I think, is to kind of get past all the hype
yeah.
and really understand, like, why is everybody freaking out about DeepSeek? Like, what could this mean for, for AI, like the future of all this stuff?
Yeah, and just a quick recap for anybody who maybe hasn't been following it super closely. DeepSeek, a Chinese AI startup, it's really kind of changing the game here. Just founded last year.
Yeah, 2023. Crazy.
Yeah, by this guy, Liang Wenfeng.
And he's interesting, right? He spun this out of his hedge fund, Highflyer.
Yeah, and they've just been like dropping all these like one after another, more and more advanced models, and then like the latest R1.
R1. Yeah.
I mean, everybody's it's one to watch right now.
It makes you wonder if that finance background, like coming from a hedge fund, actually gave them like a secret weapon. Because both of those worlds, right? Finance, AI, it's all about optimization.
Yeah.
It's all about finding these little tiny edges that you can compound into massive results, right?
Yeah, and I know analyst Azim Azhar, he's been calling them the Chinese Sputnik.
Yeah, for a while now.
Yeah, and he's been like watching these guys for over a year.
Over a year, yeah, way before it was,
Yeah, and he thinks this is like a major turning point.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, R1, it's not just competing with OpenAI's O1 model.
Yeah.
O1, that's the gold standard for reasoning AI.
Yeah.
It's not just matching it, it's beating it. On some of these benchmarks, it's actually performing even better.
Oh, wow. And I mean, it's doing all this at like 10% of the cost, right?
Yeah, that's the crazy part. It's way cheaper and get this, it's faster too.
Yeah? I mean,
way faster.
We're talking 275 tokens per second.
Which is that's wild.
I mean, that's so much faster than...
It's so much faster than we can even talk.
Yeah, than human speech.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like cheaper, it's faster. What's different about their approach? Is there like some secret sauce here that everybody else has missed?
That's the big question, right? And this is where it gets really interesting. Remember, we've talked about those U.S. export controls, the ones that are limiting China's access to, like the best, like those top-tier Nvidia chips.
Right.
So they've had to work with, like, less powerful hardware.
So they had these limitations, and it forced them to innovate, like almost.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they've come up with some really clever approaches. Like, for example, using faster calculations that are a little less precise when you don't need, pinpoint accuracy for certain tasks. Cutting out a lot of, like, the unnecessary computational steps. And they're even working, get this, they're working down at the assembler language level.
Wait, assembler language, isn't that like super low level? Like, isn't that like the bare metal of...
It is, yeah. PTX, it's like they're getting incredibly granular with their optimization.
Wow.
And the results are insane. They've achieved a 45-fold increase in training efficiency.
Oh my God.
Compared to like the standard.
That's enormous.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, like, all these other companies that have all the money in the world, all these resources, what have they been doing?
Right. And it makes you think this whole idea that bigger is always better with AI, like maybe we're hitting some limits there.
Yeah, and I want to talk about, like, what is this doing to all the big companies? Because, I mean, we're seeing reports that everybody's, like, scrambling to figure out how to respond to this.
Oh, they're feeling the pressure, for sure. I mean, OpenAI, for example, they've already started offering lower-cost versions of their models, right?
Yeah.
Which seems like a direct response to DeepSeek's pricing.
Yeah.
And then you have Meta, who are apparently, like, tearing apart their Llama model, trying to figure out how DeepSeek is doing this. Like, how are they achieving this level of efficiency? And then even Nvidia, right? The king of AI chips.
All right.
They're taking a hit because DeepSeek is showing that maybe you don't need to buy, like, mountains of these expensive GPUs to do cutting-edge AI.
Yeah, I mean, and the markets are reacting. I mean, we're seeing a massive sell-off of U.S. tech stocks. I mean, over $1.2 trillion in value has just, like...
vanished. Poof,
gone.
And Nvidia especially, they're seeing, like, a record amount of market value just erased.
It's crazy.
It's nuts. And it's like investors are finally, like, starting to ask, like, wait a minute.
Are these big AI spending plans, are they
Okay.
justified? Or are they overspending?
Yeah, are they overhyped?
Yeah. Are they vulnerable to more like, agile, nimble companies like DeepSeek?
Right, it's like DeepSeek's like this little speedboat that's just weaving through these giant lumbering, cruise ships.
Yeah. Yeah. And then on top of that, they're open sourcing it. Like R1 is free.
Yeah, that's the other wild part of this story, right?
And she's like, they're just throwing open the doors. Like, come on in, everybody, party at our house.
Yeah, it's a radical departure from, the traditional closed source approach that most, especially U.S. companies, have favored.
Yeah. And what are the implications of this?
I mean, the implications are huge, right? It's accelerating AI innovation at a crazy pace because now you have developers all over the world who are building on top of R1. They're contributing code, they're finding bugs, they're porting it to run on different hardware.
Yeah.
It's like they've created this massive global collaborative R&D team.
It's almost like crowdsourcing R&D.
Exactly. And it's creating this network effect that closed source companies, it's very difficult for them to compete with that.
Yeah, but aren't they worried about if they're giving this stuff away for free, aren't they worried that somebody's gonna take it and run with it, build a better version, build a product and start selling it?
It's definitely a risk, right? I mean, there's always that possibility. But they seem to be betting that the benefits of doing this, the benefits of open sourcing outweigh the risks. And they're basically saying, look, we think we can stay ahead of the curve. We think our team, our culture of innovation is going to keep us at the forefront.
So it's a high stakes gamble for sure.
It is, but so far it seems to be paying off.
Okay, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about the fact that they came from a hedge fund. This whole thing started in finance, which is not your typical Silicon Valley startup story.
No, it's very unique. and it might be part of what's making them so successful, right?
Right.
Because the world of finance, particularly quantitative finance,
right,
it's all about optimizing algorithms. It's all about squeezing out every little bit of performance.
Yeah.
And those skills, they translate really well to AI.
So it's like they were training for this the whole time.
Exactly. And Liang Wenfeng, their founder, his ultimate ambition isn't just to build a successful company. It's to achieve AGI, artificial general intelligence.
Wow, AGI, that's
the holy grail.
Yeah, machines that think like humans.
It's the bold ambition, to say the least.
Yeah. So they're shaking up the tech world. They're attracting all this talent. They're aiming for AGI, but it hasn't all been easy, right?
No, this meteoric rise, it hasn't come without its challenges.
Yeah.
In fact, they got so popular so quickly that they actually got hit with a cyber attack. Yeah, they had temporarily limit new registrations because the demand was so high.
So even with all this amazing technology, they're still vulnerable to just the same stuff that everybody else is dealing with.
It's a reminder that cybersecurity is paramount, especially for a company that's working with this kind of, sensitive technology and data.
Right. And then you have the fact that 2025.
Yeah.
It's the Chinese year of the wooden snake.
Right, which, it symbolizes adaptability and resilience.
Right. And some people are saying that this is a good omen for DeepSeek.
Yeah, a sign that they can navigate all these complex challenges and come out even stronger.
So it's almost like it adds a layer of symbolism to this whole story.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it does make you wonder what is the future hold for these guys? Can they keep this momentum going? Can they keep disrupting the AI landscape?
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
But one thing's for sure, DeepSeek is definitely a company to watch.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. It really is remarkable, isn't it? Like this startup, they're facing all these constraints and they end up pushing the whole field forward.
Right. Yeah, it really makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Have these big US companies with all their resources, have they gotten complacent?
It's possible, right? They had all the right ingredients, but maybe they weren't using the best recipe.
Yeah.
And DeepSeek, they had to get creative, right? They had to be resourceful.
Yeah.
And they ended up finding this shortcut, this better way of doing things that everybody else just overlooked.
Yeah. It really does challenge that whole bigger is always better mentality that's that's been driving a lot of AI development.
For sure.
Okay, so let's dig into this open source decision a little bit more, because
Yeah.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. Like, why would a company give away its crown jewels like that?
I know it's a strategy that has a lot of analysts scratching their heads, but when you really think about it, it's actually brilliant on a couple of different levels.
Okay.
First of all, they've created this enormous community of developers
Right.
who are now like invested in DeepSeek's success. Right.
Yeah.
They're contributing code, they're finding bugs, they're porting R1 to run on different hardware.
So it's almost like they're getting like free R&D from all over the world.
Exactly. It's like crowdsourced R&D on a massive scale.
Yeah.
And that means that the pace of improvement, the rate at which they're able to iterate and make R1 better, it's just it's incredible, right? And new applications are popping up like every day.
Wow.
It's this network effect, right? And it's very, very difficult for closed source companies to compete with that.
Yeah, I mean, but aren't they worried about, like, somebody could just takes their technology and just run with it, right? Like build a better version or build a product and start selling it.
I mean, it's a risk for sure. There's always that possibility, but DeepSeek seems to be betting that the benefits of open sourcing outweigh those risks.
Okay.
They're basically saying, look, we think we can stay ahead of the curve. We think our team, our culture of innovation is going to keep us at the forefront.
So it's a gamble.
It is. But so far, it seems to be working.
Okay. I want to go back to something you said earlier about DeepSeek's origins, the fact that they came out of a hedge fund. This whole thing started in finance, which is, I mean, that's just not your typical, Silicon Valley.
There's not your typical startup story.
No, and I'm curious, like, what was their motivation? Was this just about building better tools for their own, trading algorithms, or was there something more to it?
Well, I mean, you got to remember that DeepSeek, they spun out a high flyer.
Yeah.
Which was already a very successful hedge fund. They weren't struggling. They didn't need R1 to make money.
Right.
So I think it's got to be more nuanced than that, right? There's got to be something more at play here.
So maybe it was about proving a point. Maybe it was about challenging like the status quo, the way things were being done.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a sense that DeepSeek is driven by this desire to push the boundaries, to show the world what's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they're doing it in a way that benefits, the entire AI community, that's a bonus, right? That's icing on the cake.
Right. It's definitely shaking things up.
It is.
And not just in the tech world. I mean, we've talked about the market turmoil. Like, why are investors so spooked by all of this?
Well, I think the $1 trillion sell-off that we're seeing, it's a reflection of a fundamental shift in how investors are viewing AI. DeepSeek has basically exposed this vulnerability in the current AI landscape. This reliance on brute force, this reliance on massive data sets and expensive hardware.
Yeah.
And now investors are looking at these companies. They're looking at OpenAI. They're looking at Google. They're looking at Meta, and they're saying, "Wait a minute, are you guys overspending?
Right.
Are you overhyped? Are you vulnerable to disruption from these more agile, more efficient players like DeepSeek?"
Yeah, and I imagine there aren't easy answers to those questions.
No, definitely not.
It's a lot of uncertainty right now.
A lot of uncertainty, and uncertainty breeds volatility.
Yeah, and this is just the beginning, right? I mean, we're still in the early innings of this whole AI revolution.
Oh yeah, we are.
And the impact of what DeepSeek's doing, I mean, this is going to be felt for years to come.
For years, for sure. And it's not just about the technology itself, right? It's about the cultural shift that they're driving.
Right, like this open source, this collaborative approach to AI development.
Yeah.
Like, could this become the new norm?
It very well could, and if it does, it could force even the biggest, most entrenched players to adapt, or risk being left behind.
Right,
and that could lead to like an explosion of innovation, right? As developers all over the world are suddenly empowered to build and share their own AI creations.
It's almost like a Cambrian explosion of AI.
It really is. The possibilities are pretty mind-boggling.
Okay, but let's talk about the elephant in the room here, which is China, right? I mean, DeepSeek's success. This isn't just a tech story. It's a geopolitical story.
It's impossible to ignore the geopolitical implications here.
Yeah.
I mean, DeepSeek's emergence as this major player in AI, it's a sign of China's growing technological prowess. And it's putting a lot of pressure on the U.S. to maintain its leadership in this field.
Yeah, it's like a new space race, but instead of rockets, it's algorithms.
Exactly. And the stakes are incredibly high.
Right.
AI is going to transform pretty much every aspect of our lives, from healthcare, transportation to national security.
Yeah.
So the country that controls AI, they're going to have a significant advantage in the 21st century.
Yeah, and DeepSeek's open source strategy, I mean, this could actually play to China's advantage here.
How so?
Well, I mean, think about it. By making their technology freely available, they're essentially building this international coalition of developers,
Right.
who are now invested in their success and in China's success.
I see what you're saying. It's a very subtle but powerful way to gain influence and to shape the global AI landscape.
Exactly.
That's something that U.S. policymakers are going to have to grapple with as they try to figure out, how to compete with China in this new era of AI.
Yeah, it's a complex situation.
It is.
And there aren't any easy answers.
No, there aren't.
But one thing's for sure, DeepSeek's success has really shifted the balance of power.
It has.
In the AI world.
Dealt with.
And the implications, I mean, they're massive.
They are.
Okay, we've talked about the technical side, the market impacts, the geopolitical angle, but let's not forget about the human element here. Like, what does DeepSeek's success mean for people like you and me? Like, what does this mean for everyday folks?
That's the question we should all be asking.
Yeah.
And the answer is both exciting and a little bit unsettling.
Okay.
AI has the potential to transform our lives for the better, right?
Yeah.
It has the potential to solve some of the world's most pressing problems, to create new opportunities that we can't even imagine yet.
Yeah.
But it also comes with risks.
Right. We've talked about like job displacement, the potential for bias, the need for ethical considerations.
Absolutely. We need to be thoughtful. We need to be deliberate in how we develop and deploy AI.
Yeah.
To make sure that it benefits humanity as a whole.
Right. It's not enough to just have powerful AI. It's got to be AI that we can trust. AI that's accountable. Okay, let's go back to this Jevons paradox that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
I'm not sure all of our listeners are going to be familiar with that concept. So can you kind of explain what that means in the context of DeepSeek's success?
Sure. The Jevons paradox is this fascinating economic principle that basically states that as technology improves and becomes more efficient, we don't actually consume less of the resource in question. We often consume more.
So in this case, even though DeepSeek's technology is making AI more computationally efficient, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be using less computing power overall.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. In fact, it's likely to have the opposite effect.
Really?
Yeah. As AI becomes cheaper and easier to implement, we're going to see a proliferation of new applications. We're going to see a surge in demand for computing power.
So it's not a zero-sum game.
No.
More efficient AI doesn't mean less AI. It means more AI.
More AI everywhere doing more things. Yeah. And that has profound implications for everything from energy consumption to the design of computer hardware to the way we think about work and leisure.
So DeepSeek's success isn't just about like disrupting the tech industry. It's about changing the very fabric of society.
I think that's right.
Wow.
It's a powerful reminder that technology is not just a tool; it's a force that shapes our world in these really fundamental ways.
And speaking of shaping the world, let's talk about like DeepSeek's impact on the future of AI. I mean, they've clearly shaken things up, but where do we go from here? Like, what's the next chapter in this story?
That's the $1 million question.
Yeah.
But I think it's safe to say that DeepSeek's success has really opened up a world of possibilities.
Okay.
It's shown that there's this other path to AI development, a path that prioritizes efficiency, collaboration, and accessibility.
And that could lead to a much more diverse, a much more vibrant AI ecosystem, one where innovation is driven not just by these handful of giant corporations, but by this global community of developers.
Exactly, exactly. And that's an exciting prospect.
It is.
It's one that I'm really eager to watch unfold.
Okay, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to touch on something that we haven't really talked about yet, which is the potential downsides of DeepSeek's success.
Okay.
I mean, we can't just focus on the positive here, right? Like, are there any risks or concerns that we need to be aware of?
Yeah, that's an important question, and it's one that we shouldn't shy away from.
Yeah.
While DeepSeek's approach has, a lot of benefits, it's not without its potential downsides.
Like what?
Well, one concern is that their open source strategy could make it easier for malicious actors to access and exploit their technology.
Yeah. So we're talking about like the potential for AI to be used for harmful purposes, like creating autonomous weapons or spreading misinformation.
Exactly, and that's a very real concern, especially as AI becomes more powerful and more widely available.
Yeah, it really highlights the need for like strong ethical guidelines and responsible development practices.
Absolutely.
To make sure that AI is used for good, not for harm.
For sure. And that's something that the entire AI community needs to take seriously, not just DeepSeek.
Right. And another potential concern, and this one's a little bit more subtle, is the concentration of talent and resources. I'm not sure I follow you.
Okay, so while DeepSeek's open source strategy is great for fostering collaboration, right?
Yeah.
It could also lead to a situation where the best and brightest minds in AI are all drawn to this one company.
Yeah.
And it creates this kind of this AI brain drain, right?
Mm-hmm. So instead of having this diverse ecosystem of AI companies, we could end up with like one dominant player that controls like a huge chunk of the talent and the innovation.
It's a risk for sure. It's something we need to be aware of as we move forward.
It seems like DeepSeek's success has created as many questions as it's answered.
Yeah, that's often the case with these really disruptive innovations, right?
Yeah.
It's what makes it so fascinating.
Yeah.
We're witnessing a paradigm shift in the world of AI, and the implications are massive.
Yeah.
It's going to be an exciting ride and maybe a little bit bumpy too.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. It seems like DeepSeek's really doing more than just like making AI faster or cheaper, right?
Right.
It's like they're changing the whole way AI is developed, who uses it, who benefits from it.
It really is a fascinating time to be following all this, and I think it's amazing how these constraints, like those export controls we talked about, they can actually like spark innovation.
Yeah, it's like they were forced to play a different game and they ended up changing the rules for everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah, but let's zoom out for a second. Like, what does all this mean for me, for you, like for the average person? Like, how is this AI evolution gonna actually like touch our lives?
Well, I mean, think about how much AI is already kind of all around us, right?
Yeah.
Even if we don't always realize it, like recommendations for what to watch or the routes our navigation apps give us, or even just like the way social media feeds are curated. Like DeepSeek's approach could make this kind of AI even more prevalent.
But wouldn't that make it even more complex? Like, I mean, if we're already having trouble understanding how AI makes decisions, won't cheaper, faster, more widespread AI just make that even harder?
Yeah, that's a legitimate concern. And it really underscores how important transparency and explainability are in AI development.
Yeah.
Like, as AI becomes more integrated into our lives, we need to be able to understand how it works, how it makes decisions, what the implications of those decisions are.
Yeah, it's not enough to just have powerful AI. It's got to be AI we can trust,
right? AI
that's accountable. And they did have that cyber attack.
They did, yeah.
Recently. And it does make you kind of wonder about their security. Like, if they're already being targeted, what happens when they get even bigger?
I mean, it was definitely a wake-up call. It showed that even a company with really cutting-edge technology, they can still be vulnerable.
Right.
And as they grow, they're going to have to make cybersecurity a top priority.
Yeah.
Not just to protect their own systems, but also to protect the AI they're putting out into the world.
Right, right. And then there's that cultural element too, right? Like DeepSeek's Chinese origins, their open source approach, those things are connected, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. There's a really strong tradition of community and collaboration in the Chinese tech scene.
Okay.
And open source development, it aligns with that. It fits right in. It's not just about competition, it's about collective advancement.
So could this be like a turning point for the whole AI industry?
It's possible.
Could DeepSeek's model inspire a global shift towards more openness and collaboration?
I think it certainly could. And if that happens, I mean, it could lead to this unprecedented acceleration of AI development.
Wow.
Imagine a world where the best minds from everywhere are working together, sharing their knowledge, building on each other's progress. I mean,
It sounds almost utopian.
it does a little bit. But let's
Right.
let's come back down to earth for a minute, right?
Sure.
Let's talk about some of the potential downsides of DeepSeek's success. We can't just focus on the positive.
Right. What are some of the risks, the concerns?
Well, one concern is this winner-take-all dynamic that we see a lot in the tech world.
So even with open source, there's still a chance that DeepSeek could become too dominant.
It's possible, yeah. And if that happens, it could stifle competition. It could limit innovation.
Right, right.
So it's something we need to be mindful of.
Yeah, yeah. And what about jobs? I mean, AI is already automating a lot of tasks, and DeepSeek's technology could make that happen even faster.
Yeah, that's a real concern, and it's one that we need to be proactive about addressing. We need to be thinking about how we retrain workers, how we create new opportunities, how we make sure that the benefits of AI are shared broadly.
Right, right. It's not just about the technology itself, it's about the social and economic implications.
Absolutely.
It's about making sure that AI is used to create a more just and equitable world.
You know, technology is a powerful tool, but it's up to us to use it wisely and to shape how it impacts society.
Okay, well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've talked about the technical breakthroughs, the market disruptions, the geopolitical implications, the ethical concerns, and the potential impact on society as a whole. So, if you had to pick one takeaway, what would you want our listeners to leave with?
I think DeepSeek's story is a reminder that we're living in a time of just incredible change.
Yeah.
The technological landscape is evolving so rapidly, and the boundaries of what's possible are constantly being pushed.
And it can feel overwhelming, right?
It can, but it's important to remember that we're not just passive observers in this process.
Right.
We have agency, we have a voice, and we have the power to shape the future of AI.
So instead of being afraid of change, let's embrace it.
Yeah.
With curiosity and a determination to really make the most of the opportunities that AI presents.
The future isn't something that just happens to us, it's something we create.
I like that.
And DeepSeek's story is this powerful example of what's possible when we embrace innovation, when we challenge assumptions, when we work together to build a better future.
Well, that's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of DeepSeek.
It's been a pleasure. Yeah.
And to everyone listening, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep exploring the amazing, ever-evolving world of artificial intelligence.